relationship. Maybe they could travel to some of those exotic places they dreamed about before the children came along. Yet, while Mike was working such long hours, it seemed unlikely this would ever happen. "Kate!" she shouted up the stairs. "Do you want a lift this morning? Because I'm leaving in 10 minutes. "No, I'm not in until lunch," Kate replied. They seemed to be hardly ever at the sixth form college. Hannah honestly didn't know how they'd get the required grades for university when they didn't appear to do any work. Still, they were old enough to know what they were doing, or were supposed to be. Kate skidded into the kitchen as Hannah pulled on her coat. She was a pretty girl with rich auburn hair like her mother's, framing a well-proportioned face with high cheekbones and lively green eyes. Mike said their daughter was the image of Hannah as she'd been when they first met. Kate was never short of admirers, which both pleased and worried Hannah, but she was a sensible girl and seemingly unaware of how attractive she was becoming. "Can you leave me £20, Mum?" she asked. "I need some new mascara." Hannah's eyes widened. "You're not going to pay that much just for mascara, are you?" "No, it's only 12, but I need money to get the bus into town, unless you can drop me off before you go to work. It's freezing out there." Kate looked disgusted that her mother would question the amount she asked for and rolled her eyes, an all-too-common expression which made Hannah smile. She'd perfected the same eye roll for her own mother's benefit when she was a teenager and knew precisely what her daughter was thinking. "Sorry, love, but I can't take you to town or I'll be late. I've got an important meeting. What happened to your allowance?" Hannah was fishing in her bag for her purse, knowing her daughter went through money like it was going out of fashion. Kate tutted. "My allowance is barely enough to last the week." She grabbed the £20 note almost before her mother pulled it from her purse. "Thanks, Mum." Hannah checked the time and hurried to the door. "Remember to stack the dishwasher before you leave." Outside, the atrocious weather hadn't improved. After 2 days of heavy snow which was tightly packed on the roads, freezing rain was starting to fall. The temperature hovered below 0, and it looked as if the gritting lorry hadn't made it again either. The council was quickly running out of salt for the roads. They called the cold snap the beast from the east, which seemed a spot-on description to Hannah, who couldn't ever remember a colder start to February. The wind was biting, chilling her to the bone, even though she'd only just left the warmth of the house. Rachel, her neighbour and best friend, was also leaving for work. "You still on for tonight, Hannah?" she called out. Hannah stopped. She'd forgotten agreeing to a girls' night out with Rachel and a couple of other friends. "Oh, sorry, but I'll have to pass on this one. Mike didn't get back last night, so I can hardly go out and leave him when he hasn't been home for 3 nights. Rachel stood with her hands on her hips, her breath clouding as it left her lips. "Why not? He's big enough to fend for himself." "Next time, Rachel, promise. Anyway, it's hardly fit to venture out unless you have to." Feeling a stab of guilt at letting her friend down, Hannah mouthed another sorry to Rachel and then hurried to the garage to get out of the freezing rain, clutching her coat to her neck against the bitter cold. 2. Hannah Graham hadn't always been stuck in the rut of domesticity. When she and Mike had married, they delighted in making plans and promises, determined to always appreciate each other and their blessings whatever life threw their way. Midnight picnics, impromptu snowball fights and surprise gifts were just some of the little things which kept their relationship spontaneous, and laughter filled their home. There was no reason to think life would ever be any different. Inevitably, when the twins came along, things changed. Hannah tried hard to keep the romance alive in her marriage, even throughout the constant exhaustion of those early years. It was difficult to pinpoint precisely when things started to change, yet she still considered their life to be good. They were financially stable with a healthy family, and Hannah was always one to count her blessings. The magic of those early days had simply matured into something different. Contentment, perhaps? Yes, that's what it was for her, and hopefully for Mike too.